the GEM is something, it's not an acronym.
Yeah.
But a GEM is something that is so
Rare.
valuable.
Yeah.
It's rare.
Yes.
But if you look at a GEM, like if you Google search GEM,
Mm-hmm.
and you see that it's something that's can look just like a stone. It kind of looks a little bit boring.
Yeah.
It doesn't look so fancy. But when you refine and you polish it and you clean it, it's beautiful.
It becomes beautiful.
And so here in Uganda, children with special needs are considered a curse.
Yeah.
And they're unwanted and unloved and often abandoned due to their special needs. And so as the GEM Foundation, we want to restore that value of children with special needs. And then our foundation is always on Christ. So that is why it's the GEM Foundation.
Yeah. Today we are gems. When I was thinking about the GEM Foundation, when I was thinking about Easter, and I was thinking about the meaning of Easter, because I'm a Christian, you're a Christian, and I think that Christians, we associate Easter with a season of giving, a season of sacrifice. Most Christians would understand that God came, Jesus, he sent his son and he died for us. Good Friday, it doesn't mean that it's exactly Good Friday, but he died for us and it's a sacrifice. So when I was thinking about Easter, a thought came to me about you, the GEM Foundation, and I started reading about your journey to setting up the GEM Foundation, and I felt like this was a good story for us to be able to tell, just to get to understand what you people as the GEM Foundation have done and what motivates you, because it kind of like embodies a lot in terms of sacrifice and giving of yourself and also sacrifice. So I felt that was a good story for us to talk about. And then also, of course, that you've also been working with us, I think now for almost over 3 years, buying shea butter in bulk to use on your children. So yeah, so it kind of like links together.
It does.
Yeah, so maybe you could just tell us your name and then what the GEM Foundation is all about. Yeah.
My name is Emily Quisenberry, and I'm the executive director and the founder of the GEM Foundation here in Uganda.
Yeah.
The GEM Foundation is a home that takes care of abandoned children with disabilities. And yeah, we love what we do. We love taking care of our kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tell me about how your journey began, because I think when I was reading about it, you used to do kind of like you used to come on mission when you were younger. And I think you started the GEM Foundation when you were under 20, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
First off, I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
And I really felt the word. I was a little girl. I was around 6 when I really felt the word calling me to Uganda.
Yeah.
And to do missions. I think it was growing up, my parents were pastors, and I really heard about the mission field, and I really felt like, okay, God, I'm called to Uganda to take care of the orphan. And I didn't know what that looked like as a little girl, but I felt like, okay, I want to go and visit. So when I was 13, the Lord provided an opportunity for me to come on a mission trip. And I was able to come to Uganda and serve at a baby's home. And I just fell in love. There was a little one that day that I met that had special needs. And I had an uncle with special needs growing up, but the experience serving at the baby's home was just like heart-changing. Just seeing that little one and seeing just how lonely and how much he needed to be loved and taken care of. And so through that opportunity, I was able to continue coming on mission trips to Uganda. So I came on 13 different trips to Uganda to serve and to work with the street children and a few other ministries and local churches.
Yeah.
And then when I finished secondary, I worked for a year and I said, okay, I am ready to move to Uganda. And I know my parents were actually very supportive. And so I moved to Uganda. I was really young, just at 19.
How old were you at 19?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I really felt like this is what I was supposed to do. So through the mission trips to Uganda, I met some incredible Ugandan leaders. And I said, would you be on our board as we start the GEM Foundation?
Yeah.
So we began the process of registering to become an NGO, and then after an NGO, becoming a children's home.
Yeah.
Before we officially opened, it took us around a year and a half to just register everything. A lot of just sitting and waiting for different documents, but the Lord was faithful.
Yeah.
And on July 10th, 2014, the home opened.
Yeah.
So we were able to receive 11 children on opening day. And to date, we've now been around for 10 years. And we've now taken care of over 7 children throughout the years. So
yeah, that's amazing. But how was that journey for you in terms of how did you even conceptualize to begin the GEM? What does the GEM Foundation? What is what anchored you in terms of the name that you chose for your foundation?
I was actually driving home from work one day in the U.S. and I remember coming to like a roundabout area and stopping because it was, you have to stop before you can enter. And I just felt the Lord say so clearly, you're going to name it the GEM Foundation. And the GEM is something, it's not an acronym. But a GEM is something that is so valuable. It's rare. Yes. But if you look at a GEM, like if you Google search GEM and you see that it's something can look just like a stone. It kind of looks a little bit boring. It doesn't look so fancy. But when you refine and you polish it and you clean it, it's beautiful.
It becomes beautiful.
And so here in Uganda, children with special needs are considered a curse. And they're unwanted and unloved and often abandoned due to their special needs. And so as the GEM Foundation, we want to restore that value of children with special needs. And then our foundation is always on Christ. So that is why it's the GEM Foundation. It's just what we felt the Lord call us to do. So.
That's beautiful. I wanted to find out because the thing is that most times, first of all, you started the foundation when you were very young. I imagine, and you said your parents were pastors on mission and stuff. So did you have like a lot of money to start this foundation? Like some money stuck somewhere, you had inherited some resources and stuff.
I moved with enough money to buy my ticket here. That was my biggest thing. Okay, I need the money for the air ticket. No, my parents did not have money. In fact, growing up, we were considered very poor for our family, but the Lord was faithful. And I think when He calls you, He can equip you. And He can also provide. Because the GEM Foundation, I did not come into money. I did not have money. But we had people come alongside us and say, you know what? I believe in what you're doing. And I'm going to step up and support your ministry. And that could look like a widow giving $5, or which would be equivalent of like 12,000 shillings, or I'm going to give you $50 a month to help the GEM run. And so the GEM Foundation runs fully on donations. And everything we do every month. We believe that the Lord will provide it, and He's faithful, and He does. And then,
because you're not for profit.
We are not for profit. No.
So most of all your funding is basically from donations.
Yes, all of it from donations. We have donors, most commonly in the United States. So we also have donors in Canada or in England. We also have donors even in Uganda who maybe they can step up alongside us and say, you know what, I can offer rice as a gift for this month. Or we're still growing that donor base locally, but everyone has something they can give and can help.
So basically, anyone is actually you can support a child, you can sponsor a child. How do you manage partnerships and sponsorships? How does if someone wants to give to the GEM Foundation, how do they do that?
Right now they can give online. We're still working on getting it so that people can donate through mobile money as well. But they can give a gift. We've had people send gifts through mobile money. We've had people donate online. And then they're able to receive newsletters and updates. So if they're sponsoring a specific child, they would receive like quarterly
information about
that child. And this is how Howla's doing. This is how Joey's doing. It would be an update on just saying like, thank you for your support and you're making it possible.
On average, what does it take for in terms of the cost? What would be the cost of taking care of one child with with disabilities?
So every month, like we run on donations. Most commonly, someone will donate $35 a month. That's our most common donation amount. But for a child to receive physical therapy and occupational therapy and education and medical care, it's more like $500 a month.
$500. Walk me through because this is it's a home. It's also a rehabilitation center. Because you're looking at a child in totality. Walk me through what this entails for such a child.
So when a child comes into our home, we're going to do an assessment and we're going to see what disability does this child have. It's going to follow up with a medical appointment right away to check for are they HIV positive? Is there any other underlying medical conditions that we don't know about? From there, we will do tracing. We will try our best to find, if we can find family. Often because of the stigmatization, a lot of children are abandoned. But we want to say the best place for a child is to be with their family. So the child's going to then they're going to meet with a therapist and they're going to say, what's our goals for this child? Our goal is for this child to sit. It can be something like our goal is for them to walk. But your goal might start with if they can sit. And then once they can sit, our goal might be they can crawl. Once they can crawl, maybe our goal is for them to stand or then to walk, right? We're looking at the whole future of how is Caleb going to look in the future? What's Caleb's life going to be like? So we're going to start at the beginning. We're also going to start with nutrition support. So are they malnourished? Do they need to put on weight? How are they feeding? and what does that look like for them? We're going to do the same thing with education as well.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing is that we're with each child every step of the way, and that we're loving and encouraging them, and we're going to walk through the journey with them.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll have exciting things where you see kids learn to walk and talk. And sometimes your child may not make as much progress.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We're going to still be with them, encouraging them, loving them throughout.
What are the common disabilities that most of these children face?
The
The
most
ones that you
common-
usually get?
The most common disability is definitely cerebral palsy.
Cerebral palsy.
Yeah, we have a lot of kids who have cerebral palsy, and then we have Down syndrome, and we have spina bifida. Hydrocephalus is really common, and then we have a lot of epilepsy. But epilepsy goes hand in hand usually with something else.
Yeah. Yeah. How many staff do you currently have?
Right now we have over 100, so we have around 92 home staff, and then we have around 20 farm staff as well.
Yeah. And most of the staff, the majority of them are the caretakers and the nannies, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So the rehabilitation, what does that entail for a child?
A lot of physical therapy, a lot of occupational therapy, medical care and treatment.
Yeah. And so most of these children definitely need a lot of medical care. Where do you take most of the children for medical care?
We work with various partner hospitals. We work with a lot of times with Insomnia Hospital. They have a wonderful neurologist.
Yeah.
Or we're working with Cure Hospital in Bali, where children are having, if they have hydrocephalus, they might need brain surgery, so they can go there. Just various hospitals. It really depends on the child.
Yeah. How does a child come into this facility? Because you say it's either orphaned or abandoned. How do you identify? Do the communities bring the children here?
No,
or
so
how do you get them?
That's a good question. We work through a process. So if a child is abandoned, they're going to be brought to the local council.
Yeah.
And from the LC is going to refer them to the Child and Family Protection Unit, which would be the police station.
Yeah.
And the police station would then refer them to the probation officer
Yeah.
for that district. And then the probation officer would be the one to actually place the child. So the probation officer could call us and say, okay, we have an abandoned child that has disabilities. Do you have space?
Yeah.
Because every home is licensed. They're given a certain amount of children that you can take care of this amount of children.
Yeah.
Because we want to know that every child has their own bed.
Yeah.
You know, every child has the ability to grow and thrive in that home.
Yeah.
And then from there, we would respond. And if we have space, we'd say, yes, we're able. We typically take children who have more critical special needs. And then we would go through the process of documentation.
Yeah.
You would be going to court for the child to get legal custody of the little one. And then that's where we would start our tracing journey.
Yeah. So usually, no child can come here unless the court has given you permission to. And then also you're looking at that your facility can only take care of how many children?
We can take
right
care
now?
of 60.
60. Yeah, so that means that you basically, because it's not like you win a child off the home. Most of the children are being with you for quite a lot of time, right? So that means that at any given time, you can only take very, very few children.
Yeah, at the moment, yeah.
Yeah. And now you have how many children?
We have 56.
56. So basically you can't get more than...
We can have 4 children.
Yeah,
we have space for 4.
Yeah.
But then we're also going to look at, is there a child that are we working on a reuniting child?
Yeah.
Okay, is there a child that we are working on reuniting the child with their biological family?
Yeah.
So when that child is reunited, that will create another
space for you. Have you had such instances?
We have worked with 11 different cases of reuniting children.
And trust me, they've been successful. That is after we found out what was trying to separate these two, the family and the child. And we believe that with all of us combining our efforts, as the organizations, the government, the parents, and the relatives around, we can do a better job to care for our children.
So then there's a few that once the child is reunited, we may support the family. Not financially, but it's like, my child was in a home because I couldn't afford epilepsy medication.
These children can thrive with their families, with their own families. Because the best place for a child to grow is the family, irrespective of whether the child is disabled or anything else. The best place for a child to grow is their home, and I believe that it is doable. It is something that everyone can do. We as parents always have to try our best and take care of our children. It's not that their lifespan is all that long. It's not long, too long. So with the short time or that little time that the Lord has decided that we take care of them, I believe it is our responsibility to do this task with a lot of love, because all they need is love. Our children need a lot of love, just like any other child. They are the same, actually. On the outside, they might look different, but from the inside, they have the same basic needs as the typical children. They need to be loved. They need to be cared for. They need to play. Everything that a typical child would deserve, these children do deserve. So I believe and strongly encourage all the parents out there who are feeling like they're tired to never give up on their children.
We call it our community program.
Where you actually go to the homes just to make sure that they're able to take care of the child properly, educating them on what to do and stuff like that. So you give them like extra support, like maybe the medication.
We've helped with medication when the family wasn't able to support it. We've also had, but we're going to make sure the family needs to be able to provide for them nutritionally. They need to be able to provide, if they're providing for themselves to eat, they should be able to also provide for the child. So we're also going to look at, okay, they can provide the nutrition support. What are they lacking to make sure they're taken care of? But financially, we don't offer financial support, but we offer sometimes just a bottle of medication for seizures. Seizure medication. And sometimes it's even as simple as connecting them to the health center that provides it for free. So a lot of just connection, I think. And also encouraging and just equipping them and saying, like, when you're struggling, we are still here for you.
So now, like for most of your children, you've had them, because you've been around for 10 years, right? So these children, most of them, you've basically had them from, you take them from some children as young as like a year. And so you're taking care of these children. You told me about something like after 18 years, a child moves away from a children's home. What then do you do for the ones, because you said you already have some children who have moved, basically graduated from being children, now they are above 18. What do you do with those children?
So in Uganda, a child, like you said, they graduate or transition from the children's home at 18 years old. But you're looking at a child with special needs and saying, this child is vulnerable to rape, to abuse, to being taken advantage of. So what can the GEM Foundation do for our kids that are growing up? And it's our responsibility. These are our kids that we're taking care of. So that's where we came up with the assisted living program. And we're excited. It's actually the first one in Uganda. And that's where it's similar to a home, but it offers more a life skill training where a child would graduate from the children's home and they would move to the assisted living program. And we're going to look at the case of that child and say, what can we do to help this child become more independent? But also offer some support as well.
And basically they would stay there and that becomes their home.
It would become their home, and then depending on the child's needs, they'll be able to learn a life skill and be re-employed maybe as a staff member. One of our little girls, Angel, loves to help in the kitchen. She loves to peel potatoes, she loves to peel vegetables. And so for her life, we're looking at how can we give her a purpose. Every child wants to have a purpose. Every person, you want to have a purpose, I want to have a purpose. So it's the same thing of how can we equip our kids so that they have a purpose and they're able to give back to society, but also to be able to have a life skill.
So basically because you're taking care of different children with different needs, so some will basically continue being looked after even when they're older, but they just have to be moved out once they're above 18. Then others who can actually be able to do something with their hands and whatever, then those you get them different skill sets to be able to build something. How do you engage to get different partners? What initiatives have you done to get more people to support your work here?
We've done different things to connect with partners. I find that it's really important to be involved in the special needs community. So to be connecting with other NGOs, other schools, other ministries who also take care of special needs. Because the truth is we can't take care of every child in Uganda. We can't. But we can work alongside these ministries and say, okay, you're offering therapy. Okay, you're offering education. Okay, you're offering, so that when we get a case of a child that maybe we can admit the child doesn't fit in our home or they have parents, so we're going to look and say, okay, in our network, who can support and help this child? This child is coming from Iganga. Okay. He was in Iganga that we know that offers physical therapy and occupational therapy for free of charge. But maybe the mom doesn't know that yet and we need to connect her. So I think it's really important to be involved, be plugged in, and also always learning and growing and continuing introducing yourself to new ministries you hear about or new companies. Because, something may be working for you, but it's not working for others, or it's not working for them and it's working for you. So I think we learn from each other.
Yeah. As a person, because you're still very, very much a youth, and I wanted to find out, like, what has been your main learning in terms of really like starting this foundation, because it's very, very unique. First of all, you're taking on children, you're depending on people to be able to help you to take care of these children. What has been your main learning? Because everyone definitely has like a different purpose that God has created us for, and you discovered your purpose way when you were young. But in terms of starting this journey and what has been your main learning through this journey of trusting God and walking by faith and still believing in what you want to do, but trusting God along the way? What has been your main learning?
I think I've learned that I have to be faithful
Yeah.
as well. But I feel like every day, every moment with our children that we take care of, I've learned so much on how to love more, or how to be, have joy.
Yeah.
Our children have joy. You know, I can complain about the littlest thing, and yet our child who has a feeding tube, he has a tracheostomy, and yet he would always be joyful.
Yeah.
He wasn't complaining, and yet through life we complain so much over little things.
Yeah.
So I've definitely learned that, but I feel like learning just to be faithful, and that the Lord is always with me.
Yeah.
Because I feel like in the beginning I could feel not alone, but just like
Overwhelmed.
overwhelmed, but just knowing that God is always faithful, and when He's called you to do it, He will do it.
Yeah.
I also know that like my timing of doing something is not always God's timing, right?
Yeah.
God's timing is perfect, and sometimes you have to be patient and wait for His timing.
Yeah.
But just because you don't hear a quick response or you don't see it happen quickly, doesn't mean God isn't working.
What's your dream for the Gem Foundation? As in, what do you see and vision for this foundation?
As the Gem Foundation, one of our slogans is no one with special needs is left behind.
Yeah.
And I
No one
think
with special needs is left
I think our heart is to see a Uganda that is accepting and loving the children with special needs, a more inclusive society. But even as simple as like, you go into the mall, is there a ramp? I would love to see Uganda where it is inclusive, where it includes children with special needs, and they're not considered a curse, where parents don't feel afraid to bring them
and embarrassed as well.
Yeah, so for Jim, our community program is really our heart, is to see more families with their children and not to feel so desperate that they feel like they have to abandon their child, but to be a tool that would equip and encourage family. So we have big dreams for Jim. We're still growing and changing, but we're excited about building a school for kids with special needs, and then what's next. We're still dreaming, but we're excited to see.
Yeah, because I see you're putting up now a facility like this is going to be like an education center.
Yeah, it'll be a school.
So that is, but your children are basically learning in a different way, because when I think about school, I'm thinking of like classroom with
There are
desks and
classrooms.
stuff.
There are
like that.
desks. There'll be around 6 children in each class, 6 to 8, depending on their needs.
Yeah.
And yes, they may learn a little bit differently, and it also takes really good teachers who are patient and willing to learn and work with them. But we know that our kids, we had a child that was deaf, but he also had cerebral palsy. So here we went to a school that took care of deaf children, and they said, we can't take care of this, we can't admit this child because he has cerebral palsy.
Yeah.
Go to the special needs school. We went to the special needs school, and the special needs school, we can't take him because he's deaf.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this child is so smart. He might be deaf and he might have cerebral palsy, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have a future.
Yeah.
So that's where we said, no, we're going to build a school,
Yeah.
because our kids deserve to go to school too.
Yeah. That's basically really wraps up our conversation with you. But I also want to thank you for what you're doing here. I was very, very inspired, because I'm way older than you, and you're doing incredibly, like amazing things that you're doing here with the Gem Foundation. And for people to know that, there are many ways that we all can be able to contribute. There are many things that you may not have to start a Gem Foundation, but you can actually be able to support other people who are doing things like that. So you can always go to your website. It's www.gemfoundation.com, right? thegemfoundation.com. You can reach out to Emma and find out how you can also be a part of supporting a child and supporting what they're doing here.